Coming to you from the home studio apartment, I'm RJ Balde, and it's time to hash it out. The TRICHOMES Hash It Out podcast features conversations about trending cannabis topics. We also bring in industry insiders and influencers to discuss their point of view. In this episode, as a part of Convo 19, a special TRICHOMES series, I'll be talking to Adelia Carrillo of EventHi about how the events planning industry is adapting and finding ways to stay afloat while suffering during the coronavirus pandemic. We'll also talk about how EventHi is working to provide live online events to continue to bring people together during this isolating time. Without further ado, here is my guest, Adelia Carrillo. My guest today is Adelia Carrillo, Chief Marketing Officer of the cannabis event and online ticketing platform EventHi. Adelia is a board member on the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce and has over 10 years of business management experience. Adelia has also served as the co-chair event coordinator for the National Latina Business Women Association San Diego. Adelia Carrillo, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I am excited to be here.
We are excited to have you. Now, we're going to talk mostly, of course, about the coronavirus. This is part of an ongoing series here at TRICHOMES called the Convo 19, the conversation about the coronavirus. So first and foremost, how are you doing and how is your family doing?
Today is a good day. My family is well, and I'm very thankful for what we have right now. Yes, it's still a little bit tricky trying to maneuver the landscape financially, but we have somewhere to stay, we have food, we're all healthy, so things are going good.
Good. We were talking a little bit before we started recording here that you kind of felt good today and you kind of felt guilty for feeling good today.
Yeah, it's one of those things you get so used to when you jump on a call with someone and you're like, hey, how's it going? And now it's kind of like, well, maybe we transition that to say, how are you doing today? To just kind of, what is going, right now? How do you feel right now? But it is those moments when I say I'm feeling good that I do feel guilty because it's, what we're going through is so different and transitional that, you wonder, like, am I allowed to feel okay? It's just everything that we're going through. I don't want to necessarily just focus on it or else I will have horrible anxiety all the time. So yeah, it's just a weird transition that I'm trying to work through as a human.
Definitely. It's definitely a day by day sort of thing. I think since this pandemic has swept our globe, it's sort of put our view of the future kind of at the back burner, and now we're really just focusing on like what's going on right now.
Exactly.
Which I guess in some ways is kind of nice. Or does that mean we're living in the moment a little bit more? I guess that's a bright side, but I mean it's in the mass of this horrible darkness. So yeah.
Yeah, there is positivity to look at it, hopefully with the outcome, and it definitely has slowed a lot of people down. I think, there's a variety of different approaches for it. Some are allowing this time to do the projects that they've never been able to do, or for us, for me personally, it has allowed me to utilize this time because when you're building a startup, it's always go, 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 adapting and just making sure you're catering to your customer, where some projects can go to the side because you're just trying to make sure you're keeping up to date with the company. So it's allowed definitely for me to slow down and focus on those projects.
Now, speaking of that, you are the, like I said, Chief Marketing Officer of EventHi. That's correct?
Mm-hmm, correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about when the company was founded and a little bit more about what the company does?
Yeah, so EventHi was founded in 2018. The idea really evolved a few years before that, though. We were hosting cannabis events. They were B2B events, and we were utilizing Eventbrite. There was no cannabis consumption. It was just a networking type style event. And after hosting a few, our account got flagged. And unfortunately, they took the funds. And then we had a fight with them for quite a few months just to get back those funds, which was very hard when you put, those ticket sales essentially go to pay for those events. So it definitely created some challenges. But what it also made us realize was, I wonder if other people are going through this. And we actually found out that, yes, quite a few event organizers were in similar, had similar experiences with Eventbrite, Splash That, and a variety of different platforms. So that kind of sparked that idea phase, which led to research and development and finding out why these platforms don't work with the cannabis space, which it goes back to cannabis being a Schedule 1 drug, and the processors that these companies work for, again, abide by that. So they look at cannabis events as a prohibited event, prohibited merchant, and prohibited transaction. To kind of surpass that as a company, we wanted to be completely transparent in what we were doing. So it took one of our founders about a year to find a bank that we could be completely transparent with. We ended up getting a marijuana-related business bank account. So they know that we're transacting to the cannabis industry. They know that we help event hosts sell tickets and sponsorships through our software. It does take a lot of work because you have to go through so many. We're learning so much about banking because of this. We're going through like money laundering laws, like all these due diligence processes that wouldn't never happen in another, event ticketing platform outside of the cannabis space. But again, it allows us to sleep at night. We know that we're compliant and transparent. So leading to that, we were able to get the bank that we officially launched in 2018 as a online ticketing platform for the cannabis industry. Again, we provide a safe hosting platform for event hosts to sell tickets and sponsorships, and for event goers and brands to find unique experiences and events that are happening nationwide.
Ugh, cannabis and banking have never been good bedfellows, have they?
No, exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad that you made it through the other side of that struggle and you were able to secure secure banking, because I know that is an enormous obstacle for so many cannabis related businesses.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. Yeah, it is a lot of work, but again, to be able to sleep at night, we're willing to do whatever they need to make sure that we stay compliant with them.
Sure. Now, according to numbers that came out in 2018, so around the time that EventHi was founded, the event planning business generated approximately $325 billion of direct spending just in the United States. Now, that number has obviously taken big hits as all public events are pretty much canceled for the near future due to COVID-19. So for EventHi, did your company see this hit coming, and how well prepared were you for it?
So we definitely saw this. We have event hosts in over 37 states who are utilizing EventHi software to host their events, and it was a chain reaction. From state to state, we started seeing cancellations, postponements, reschedules, which definitely has like a trickling effect. It goes from the event host, then it goes to the venues that they're working with, it goes to us, which then from us, we have to then start issuing, refunds or reaching out and helping these event hosts communicate to these attendees that there's going to be a new event date and when is it. So we definitely saw it across the board. Honestly, the first week was very tough. We've been around since 2018. We're still, though, a small, lean team. So we had to really look internally and discuss this and say, can we survive through this? And then B, what are we going to do? Our tagline is bringing people together offline. We cannot continue to state that,
Wow, yeah.
So we're like, we got to not rebrand, but we got to change some verbiage. We got to match, the environment. And so again, yeah, we really had a tough week as a team, but we each allowed each other to kind of take it in personally, look at our own lives at that time too. And then a few days later, we all came back and we're like, you know what? No, let's keep moving forward. This is a temporary, very turbulent transition. But again, if we can find a way to kind of be a solution right now, let's do that. So that was great to see our team come together at such a time where honestly it felt like we just kept getting knocked down over and over again. And that's led us to reaching out to over 20 different virtual tech platforms, to seeing about what they can offer, if they'd be interested in partnering. We ended up partnering with 3 different ones that can host a variety of different type of online virtual events. And now we are in the process of training event hosts and onboarding them, and even doing a little more than we did with our normal services. Is we're actually handling a lot of the back end event tech production for these event hosts, so they don't even have to really try to learn a whole new thing. They can just focus on what they are good at, which is, creating these experiences and trying to now learn, how do you do this online? Because it's a completely different model.
Sure. Now that kind of brings me to my next question, because your resume spans numerous categories, from owning a floral design company to co-founding the Direct Cannabis Network, which is a digital B2B industry news network. And now you're working as the CMO of EventHi.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any industry, right, that's had to make drastic adjustments to business operations during this quarantine and lockdown period, it's that of event planning. Like you said, your slogan is bringing people together offline. Now that you've had to make that shift, what are some of those more dramatic changes that you've had to make to your operations at EventHi? I'm guessing you're all, for the most part, working at home for starters.
Yep. That was the first things first. We were working from home, which honestly was an easy transition for us because we are a software company. So it wasn't too hard of a transition. We already utilized Zoom. We already have Slack in place, and we already work with a couple of our team members who are not located in San Diego. So we kind of already had a little bit of a process down. Next thing was, speaking with our CTO and re-looking at the development in our features. We knew virtual events were happening in general before all this, but we didn't really have a focus on them, and we didn't think it would need that much focus. That obviously changed over the past few weeks. So him and the tech team are kind of redeveloping what we need to be focusing on in terms of the tech development. So now we're seeing, this potentially could go on for a little bit longer than we've expected. So maybe we need to focus on building some virtual features that could help event hosts easier. Just little design features and even just customization in their response when a attendee purchases a ticket, kind of helping these event hosts to communicate better and let them know that, are you going to send like a link 48 hours or just different information when it comes to communicating with their event hosts. So that has definitely transitioned our tech production. And then just as a team, now we're focusing on educating event hosts. We are onboarding them with the technology for virtual events. And it also led to something kind of like fun and a way for us to give back. I know we might talk a little bit about that later, so I'll only quickly mention it. But it led for us to host a community give back event, which is called High Day. And it's going to be an online cannabis event.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited to talk about that. Now, do you sort of see, is there any sort of bright side or benefit to being a company in your sophomore year and already having to deal with such an unprecedented and unexpected shakeup like this? Is there any way that you might find yourself coming out stronger or more able to handle these weird situations?
Honestly, yes. I mean, all of us that are, we're all in the cannabis industry, so we are kind of used to going through a lot of hurdles and challenges and ups and downs. So, and I've always looked at those as growing opportunities. And that's also, I think, what helped us kind of be able to quickly find a solution and pivot the way we did as a team. Not that we planned for, we've definitely planned for a variety of different circumstances that could happen to the company, but it was never global pandemic that would limit or remove gatherings. Like that was not in our what if plan.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but the outcome, yes, it is definitely, as a team, it's brought us together even stronger than before. Not that we weren't, connected, but it definitely showed all of our strengths even further than we've all even knew. It also is opening up another revenue model. After all this, virtual events can still happen. Virtual events can now be an additional offering for event hosts. When we can gather again in person, they can still offer the virtual kind of experience for those who may not be able to travel to go to that event. It's also an additional, sponsorship offering for their sponsors, because now they would be in person in front of their attendees, and there'll be a virtual component where they will also get even more increased exposure. So there are some, positive outlooks from this. I think the biggest one though is, as a team, it's gonna, when we overcome this as a team, I look at it as that's just kind of not fighting power, but very impactful when we start approaching investors to reopen our round. Because honestly, we were fundraising for our seed round, but over the past few weeks, we've realized investors are not going to be looking to invest in an event tech platform right now.
Sure.
So
Might be a hard sell.
Yeah, very hard sell. But when this all transitions and we're like, hey, we're still here, this is what we did to survive, and all the different things that have came through this, I think that'll give us a lot more credentials, may not be the right word, but kind of, again, just additional tools that can go in our belt as a company.
Sure. Now, I want to talk about High Day because that's coming up. But before we do that, I want to ask you about this, because on March 24th, the Events Industry Council released a memo calling for all U.S. event companies to contact their senators to inquire about federal economic relief. And then a couple of days after that, the $2 trillion stimulus bill was passed. Because EventHi is a cannabis-centric company, do you know where you stand in terms of receiving any sort of financial support from the federal government?
Not yet. We've tried everything. We've applied on all the different applications that we have been able to find out there. We have sent emails and tried to find people that we can ask. It has been very challenging. We honestly haven't heard anything back. We hope there's a chance because we don't touch the plant per se, but again, we are catering to the cannabis industry. And I recently read that, ancillary and companies that cater to this space, even if they're not plant touching, won't be accepted. But I don't know if that was a credible source. So that's a thing we're still digging into right now.
Everything is still very much just up in the air. I feel like the bill was passed, but I know the Small Business Administration has had an influx of applications to the point where their website is crashing. The banks don't know what to do, and there's just such a large cloud of confusion and misinformation that it's hard to parse through what to actually pay attention to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So true. I mean, but the thing is, I think, we all should invest that time because you never know. So even if you hear from someone that you may not be able to, it doesn't hurt to go through that process and just try,
Never hurts to try. Now, on April 11th, EventHi is hosting High Day. Now, that's a 24-hour live online event featuring cannabis cooking tutorials, yoga, painting, music, comedy, and a lot more. Now, this episode might come out after High Day has taken place, but can you tell me about the differences in coordinating an in-person event with people coming from all over the world to an online event with people streaming from all over the world?
Yes, it has been definitely a learning experience for us too. Especially the way we decided to do it with 24-hour events, so back to back.
Yeah, you guys really went for it, huh?
Yeah, exactly. We're like, how can we do this, make it fun, attract everybody around the world, no matter where their time zone is?
Definitely.
And it's a really, I look at it now and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could be watching this live. But we'll be behind the scenes. So we'll be behind the scenes, checking it out. But the difference has definitely been a learning experience when it comes to working with each of the hosts. When planning an event and coordinating, the speakers or the hosts or the comedians or whatever their talent is, when they are doing an in-person event, they just have to come in and just show up. They do provide you, their bio, the basic information to promote who they are before the event. But now we've had to do 2 tech tests before, just to make sure that is their Wi-Fi good? Is their, lighting good? Is the sound good? How are they going to have the camera placed? Do they understand the platform that we're using so that they can engage with the audience? Also kind of walking them through their events that they're hosting, because now that we are not in person, attendees or viewers that are tuning in have 20 other distractions that are going on around them.
Yep.
So it's like you, as an event host, now need to make sure that you're engaging and entertaining them, or finding a way to keep them just kind of in tune to the event. You want them to not be like, oh, I don't want to miss out what they might say next. Because again, you're now competing with the dog, maybe if you have children, maybe your emails are going off. So there's just a lot more competition now when it comes to an online event. The good thing with the High Day event and the platform that we partnered up with is that it actually does a replay. So all the attendees can watch it live, and then whatever events they missed or whatever events they want to go watch again, they're going to have full access to that for a year. So they can go back and just check the events out anytime they want. For the next year.
Wow. That's really great. I love that. Now, how is it more difficult to coordinate people when they're all at home, or is it more difficult to do it in person, or are they completely different?
They're completely different, but I have noticed it's been a little bit harder online, because you have to I don't want, basically you have to remind them a lot more to, hey, don't forget we have this meeting at 3 p.m. I think the hardest thing is, right now days are rolling together, time is rolling together. We've kind of all lost track of what day or time it is. So we've had to remind them a little bit more than we normally would for a regular event. Luckily, so EventHi, we don't normally host events. We normally are just focused on the software. We do host community events that are always focused about giving back, such as beach cleanups and holiday drives and things like that, which is what led to High Day, because we have a give back component with this event. But luckily I have previous event experience, because it does prepare me better for this transition. And a lot of our team, they've all hosted or produced events themselves. So we definitely have the structure in play of what it would take to host an event. And the difference is definitely there. But it's interesting, to say the least.
Sure. Now, speaking of that give back component, there is a charitable component added to High Day. Can you tell me a little more about that and why it's important to you and the company to align yourselves with that?
Yeah. So we wanted, since this was going to be an online event, let me back up. Sure. Initially, High Day was supposed to be an in-person event. Mm-hmm. We wanted to have, we have over 800 event hosts that utilize EventHi. So we reached out to all of them, and we wanted them to host a community give back event in their hometown. Again, whether it was a cleanup, feeding the homeless, something that would just give back in a positive way in the month of April. Again, this all transitioned. We did not want to start promoting for event hosts to host in-person gatherings at all. We don't want to, that's just not a smart thing to do. with this environment.
Sure.
We
Sure.
don't, you know. So that's kind of how the High Day transitioned to, well, let's do something else. So it became this online event, and then we're like, let's give back to a charity that we feel would be something that we all would align with as a team. And as we researched, we found a organization called No Kid Hungry Organization. Essentially, they help feed kids that don't have access to meals outside of school. You know, a lot of times many kids rely on the meals that they're getting from school. And with the transition of schools shutting down, this obviously became a rippling effect for even the children, because now they don't have access to those meals. I believe it said over I don't, this may not be correct. I don't want to say the wrong number, but it was estimated to about 300 million meals are missed in 1 week alone for kids because of school not happening. Which is, it's very unfortunate and sad to recognize that and to hear that. So we're like, this is great. You know, if we can help in any way, this would be a great organization to do so. So we selected the No Kid Hungry organization. We're going to be donating the proceeds, 20% of the proceeds from the ticket sales to that organization, along with utilizing the rest of the proceeds to actually give back to each of these event hosts who are hosting these events, because they too have been affected, obviously, you know, through contracts and event cancellations due to the COVID-19 crisis. So we wanted to just, you know, we're not a huge corporation. We don't have a lot of money that we could necessarily utilize to give back in other ways, but we found a way that we could give back not only to event hosts, but also to a nonprofit that we all strongly believed in.
Absolutely. And I love that you're doing both of those things. I was very pleased to see that you were giving back to No Kid Hungry, and then also securing a portion of your proceeds toward the event host, because like you said, during times like this, it always seems to be the arts that gets cut, whether that even be in like when it comes to school funding or when it comes to like circumstances like this where everything gets canceled and now no one can get together anymore. So I love that you are still making a point to not only support the children who, again, depend on those school lunches for their food, for their nourishment, and then also leaving some of that for the event host as well. I think that's a very noble cause to undertake during this time. Now, how important do you find it for people to continue to still have ways to connect with others and attend live events while we're all still staying at home?
I think it is still very important. You know, I think it'll actually have us be more appreciative after this when we can reconnect in person. For a while, I started to see and hear a lot of people kind of get overloaded with events. You know, I think they were like, "Oh, another conference. You know, how many conferences can we have?" Which I understand. You know, you do want to make sure that you are um, approaching and attending the right events for your brand, or whether it's more personally, you know, just for fun. But the one thing where we were going as a society was that human connection was becoming very important, and experiences. You know, experiential marketing before all this was very valuable, and what people wanted. I think that's the thing with technology. We are more connected than ever, but so far disconnected from that human connection that people were thriving in these experiences and events that they wanted to attend. Now it's kind of transitioned, and now we don't have really any connection with other individuals in person besides, you know, the people that we are living with or safer at home with right now. So I think now it's vital to have that connection online, and reestablish what does that even look like and what does that mean. You know, I think now more than ever we're seeing families go on Zoom and have dinner together, or birthdays happening online, you know, or DJs showing up for an hour and just playing online for everyone, and people are now just dancing in their homes. It gives them a new connection. They're not alone. It's a little bit of a helping mechanism too, to distract kind of the environment that they're in. but then now they can also learn something new or have some fun, and again, put a little bit of a positivity around them, with this, again, current landscape.
Now, finally, what's next for EventHi, and how do you see the event industry faring during the pandemic? I know we were talking earlier that Hi Day might be a stepping stone for you guys to continue doing online events.
Yeah. So for us, the next, where we feel like we're going to be going in the future, or even in the next few weeks, is we know that Hi Day will actually be a great introduction for other event hosts who may be tinkering with the idea of going virtual. So for them to be able to see this and experience it, it's going to be a great learning tool for them. So we definitely think there's going to be an increase of online virtual events that we'll be working with our event hosts on. Outside of that, once things start to transition a little bit, we'll, as a startup, go back to opening our round for our seed round. We also think that initially, when things start changing, it is going to be more focused on smaller events. I think it's going to be a while before we really are able to go back to these large, huge, like festivals or expos or conferences, so we'll start to put more emphasis on those intimate gatherings once we are able. But I think too, it's going to be another approach for EventHi to incorporate more education to better train some of these event hosts on new, maybe health standards. I don't want to say like that's something that we would have to take on, but I feel like we should, as a company, maybe help educate on the importance of things are going to be different. We have to start looking at how we are on the experiences that you guys are providing and connecting these event goers to. Because, the cannabis space, we all, you pass the joint. If you don't pass the joint, that's kind of rude.
Sure, right?
So are we going to do that again?
Right.
Like, if we are, do we need to have safety tips? Like, what these little things we have to start thinking about that, before, unfortunately, we never did. Some people I know were already on top of that and for their own personal use, but I think as a event host, they're going to start having to look at those things if there's consumption.
This is going to change our smoke sessions forever, man.
Right?
My goodness. Well, Adelia, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I wish you all the best with Hi Day. I will certainly be tuning in. I'm going to try to stay up for the full 24 hours because
yes.
One of the things before we go, I am looking forward to 12 p.m. You have an event hosted by Maggie Wilson called A Cannabis Sommelier in Quarantine: How to Use Cannabis to Enhance Your Psychic Abilities and Advance Your Awakening Journey. I'm tuning in. You can guarantee that. I'm stoked about that.
I got so excited when she sent her application. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is cool.
Yeah,
like a whole new connection.
Oh my goodness. You can't tune in. You can't not tune in to someone who calls themselves a cannabis sommelier in quarantine. That's just that's self right there. I'm in. You got me. Before we go, where can listeners go to get their tickets for Hi Day? Well, I know it's already coming out. This episode might be out already, but just in case.
Well, if you're just looking for cannabis events in general, go to www.eventhi.io, and it's HI, like hi, hello.
Sure.
You can also follow us on Instagram. It's at eventhi.io. And yeah, you'll be able to find all unique cannabis experiences. Definitely, you'll notice more virtual events right now. And there are some events, though, that are still happening, but they're happening at the end of the year. So definitely check those out. And just, check out the community and experiences that we have going on.
Right on. Adelia Carrillo, thank you so much again. Stay well and best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you so much.
My thanks again to Adelia Carrillo for joining me. If you are a member of the cannabis community and have a story you want to share with us, we would love to hear from you. You can reach the show at hashitout@trichomes.com. You can help others find the show by taking a moment to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. You can also join the discussion with industry insiders and get your voice heard by joining the community at trichomes.com and following us on all social media. Hash It Out is produced by David Fortin and presented by trichomes.com. I'm RJ Balde. Thanks for listening.